Welcome back to the programme, Daniel Hannan.
Thank you, Christian.
So proud to be British, and of course, a lot of people are saying a new dawn, Independence Day. But the truth is that all day the question has been asked, what is the plan? And we're not hearing it from the main Brexit leaders. We hear the Prime Minister lay out a plan for negotiations and pre-negotiations. What is the plan?
Well, he is still the Prime Minister, so you're, in a way, assigning responsibility without power. You're saying, what do we want to do when we're not yet in office, right?
But so basically you're saying he has to, the guy who lost, has to figure out your plan.
Well, I would have liked him to have appointed one of the Leave campaigners as the person in charge of the renegotiation. I was hoping that would happen today, and then we could have got going with the process. But, I mean, I don't think there's any secret about what the plan is. It's a repatriation of power. We have to, of course, accept the constraint of a very narrow result. 48% of British people voted for no change. We can't just wish that fact away. We have to respect their opinions. 2 of the 4 nations within the UK voted for the status quo. And so we may have to temper what we're doing and go for a more gradual and more phased repatriation of power while leaving some of the existing stuff in place.
So
because we have to listen to both sides.
Okay, so now I'm hearing, you know, a very much softer, gentler version of what you proposed during the campaign. Temper some of the stuff. Like what? Like immigration? Because you yourself have sort of stepped back. So has Boris Johnson.
What have I stepped back from?
You have said that... Let me get my...
Yes, I've said that we want control back rather than numbers down.
No, you have said that maybe we're not... Yes,
and
exactly.
when did I ever say the opposite?
You have
when
said
did I ever not say that? Right, when did I ever not say that?
Listen,
I wrote a book about this.
You have been through all of this on other channels. The reason people voted, the majority of them, and I can play you what they've said,
Christian,
is to stop immigration into this country. No, backtracking. Okay, maybe that's a U-turn.
Okay, you've accused me of backtracking. When have I ever said anything different?
You have said, and your Leave campaign, and you are the lead spokesman of the Leave campaign, that immigration and the free flow of movement was the sine qua non.
Never. I've never, ever said that. I've written a book called Why Vote Leave, setting out what would happen.
Would you agree that the Leave campaign's main objective, in terms of sovereignty, was to stop the free movement?
Your idea that I've backtracked. Okay. Then people at home can Google this, they can look at what I've said, and they can see whether it's fair for you to accuse me of having done it.
Let me ask you, are you then saying that this immigration is going to be much lighter than you all promised?
I have never, ever made any commitment on numbers, ever. On the contrary, I have said
just on facts, no free movement of
what we said is we would take back control. Now, what that means is that a foreign court should no longer get to determine who can reside in this country, who can enter this country, that should be a question for parliamentary sovereignty. We are clear about that,
so
you're saying
that parliamentary sovereignty could quite easily allow the same number of people to keep coming in?
That will be a decision for Parliament. That's how democracy works.
You have got to be kidding me. What? This whole thing was run on... Can I play for you?
You guys have been shouting racist so long you weren't listening to what we were actually saying.
Did I say that? You retract that right now. Did I say that?
When have I ever made immigration my issue?
Did I say that?
You have accused me of backtracking, and I want you to give me one bit of evidence that I ever said anything different from what you've just quoted.
Daniel, let me play the soundbite. You refuse to put an earpiece in, but I'm going to tell you what they're saying of why people say they voted for this leave, mostly. Let's play.
Why are you so elated?
It's all about immigration. Right? It's not about trade or Europe or anything like that. It's all about immigration. It's to stop the Muslims from coming into this country. Simple as that.
So you think you voted to leave the EU to stop Muslims coming to the country?
To stop immigration.
Right.
But the movement of people in Europe, fair enough. But not from Africa, Syria, Iraq, everywhere else. It's all wrong.
When we first went in, it was for trade only. The governments went and gave us everything to Germany. My parents, my grandparents fought for England to be free, and it's about time we would come back to be free.
Foreigners, get them out, kick them all out. And that's all I've got to say, actually.
So, just tell me what you plan then for immigration, because you know, and we all know, because we've done this endlessly for months. You even said, your group even said that if we had to leave the single market in order not to have the free flow of labour and people, we'd have to leave the single market. Now they're backtracking on that too.
This is a global country, a merchant country, a maritime country. We've always been connected to every continent and archipelago, right? The argument against the EU is that it's in decline and that we can do better raising our eyes to more opulent markets overseas.
What are people
That has been my argument throughout, on every interview, every speech, And I've written a book called Why Vote Leave, where it's all set out. You will not find any argument
back
there.
Boris Johnson,
listen,
and you did back Michael Gove, right?
If I was relying on CNN as my only source of evidence, I would think that this was a nativist vote, a protectionist vote. It's the opposite. We're a global country, and we can do better than just a regional association.
Right, are you concerned?
That's been the argument right from the start.
About some of the post-Brexit hate crimes, the graffiti, the hurling of insults. Are you? The Prime Minister
and that's our fault.
The Prime Minister started Parliament today with
an outrageous question. In every country, in every population...
I am asking you, as a politician, are you concerned about some of the fallout?
In every country, you have some racist idiots. In every society, you have some racist idiots. But for you to suggest without any connection that this is somehow connected to the campaign,
Daniel,
that you couldn't have had, that there were no racists in Britain before, that there are no...
Daniel, that's not what I was saying. I said, are you concerned about the fallout and the hate crimes? Again,
why
I don't believe I used the word racist.
Why assume that it's fallout?
Let me ask you this about Boris Johnson.
Wait, that was a why did you stop beating your wife question?
No, it wasn't, because people have gone into shops and they have said, we voted out, now
and that never happened
go home.
Before. There were never any racists in this country before. There were never any incidents like this
let's not be tautological here. You haven't voted out
What you are suggesting is outrageous. What you are suggesting is that there is a connection between people who voted for more democracy and some of these incidents.
If some of the hate crimes,
thing to say without any evidence of any connection at all.
We have the evidence, and I've put it on the...
What evidence? You show me a link between the vote and this bad behaviour.
We will show you the graffiti on the Polish community centre here.
So there are some bad people, right?
Right, okay.
Right.
So
of course we condemn that. But
57% rise in hate crimes since Brexit. 57% rise in hate crimes, according to your police. According to the police here. I'm not making it up.
What you're suggesting
I'm just asking you, are you concerned?
of the country are on a spectrum that connects them to this. Well, of course. Why should I need to that goes without saying? Why should I need to say that?
You won't answer the other one. Now, let me ask you this about Boris Johnson, OK? Who's maybe, at least he's trying, to be the next Prime Minister and party leader. This is what he said in his column, which he's written. He hasn't gone out and made a big vision speech or a big plan speech. He's written it in a column for which he gets paid a lot of money. He said, I cannot stress too much that Britain is part of Europe and always will be. There will still be intense and intensifying European cooperation and partnership in a huge number of fields. There will continue to be free trade and access to the single market. Britain is and always will be a great European power, offering top-table opinions and giving leadership on everything from foreign policy to defence to counter-terrorism and intelligence sharing.
Beautifully put.
You see, I thought this referendum was about disassociating from the EU.
I get that you thought that.
Yeah,
you were evidently not listening to us.
So it wasn't?
Correct.
It wasn't about disassociating from the EU?
May I tell you what it was about without interruption?
Please.
Yes. It was about an internationalist global Britain, a more deregulated Britain, a freer Britain and a more democratic Britain, one that is interested and engaged with the affairs of every continent, including Europe. I speak French, I speak Spanish, I've lived and worked all over Europe, right? I have absolutely no issue with collaborating with our immediate neighbours. You would have to be insane to be against that.
I understand that.
Right?
How do you expect to be a leader at all these tables when you're not part of the EU? Because they have
the fifth largest economy in the world. We're the fourth military power. We're one of 5 permanent seat holders on the UN Security Council. I don't think we need to moderate all our foreign policy through Mrs. Mogherini. But I'm sorry, but the implication here that people have just voted for closing doors, for protectionism, which has been a theme throughout, is just the opposite of what we were actually campaigning on. We were making a liberal argument for a global, engaged, international Britain, and we want to look beyond a declining, innovated Eurozone to the growing markets further afield where we have connections.
All right, well, we will continue this conversation. Daniel Hannan, thank you very much indeed for joining me tonight.
Thank you.